What's up, wild animals? I'm Melanie Vesey, and welcome to another Promotional Rescue talk show. I'm a stand-up comedian, actress, and filmmaker. And if you want to see any of my work, my specials, my movies, you can do that at melanievesey.com. But I'm also a promotions consultant with my own company called Promotional Rescue. And if you want to see who I work with and what my services are, you can do that at promotionalrescue.com. But on this talk show, I talk with people who are promoting themselves, feeling good about it, not feeling good about it, whatevs. It's really my goal to have these conversations to help people talk about their self-promotion without feeling gross. You guys, let's try. I'm so stoked to have this lady on the show. I've done a bazillion shows with her. She's an amazing comedy producer and an amazing comedian. She's had an album go to #1 on iTunes called Only Happy When It's Raining Men. She's got a weekly Zoom comedy show called Homework, spelled WERK. And she, before we all went into our homes, she had amazing weekly shows that I performed at all the time. Mickey's and WeHo, Hamburger Mary's. I mean, she does it all. I'm so excited to be chatting with her. Sam Hale, everybody. Yay!
Hi, girl. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I mean, come on. I mean, you really get a lot of work done, and it can be thankless and tiring and whatever. But I just want to chat with you about how you do it. You know what I mean? The mindsets, the whatever, the tips and tricks about, I mean, you promote a weekly show. You've had an album, a comedy album go to #1, and you promoted real life shows, weekly real life shows, drag shows. I mean, come on. I mean, give me a
shows. Yeah, you can see the bags under my eyes. That's not going away from all those shows anytime soon.
So let's talk about what it is. What's your kind of go-to thing that you do to help yourself just get through the process of self-promotion?
It definitely is a process, and it's definitely daunting and overwhelming. And sometimes it's just like, ugh, I don't wanna. But it's kind of amazing being a producer and a comedian because you see it from both sides. Like, you kind of understand the importance of a well-rounded show where, maybe you're going to invite some really incredible professional comics who've been doing it for 10, 20 years. But, if they're doing 7 shows a week, then they are not going to be able to pack out the house every night. So you have to be aware that even if you have a killer lineup, people may not know about it because the Los Angeles market specifically is so oversaturated. That's when you get the opportunity to bring in some new talent, bring in some people that are very, very excited and to do comedy, and their mom still wants to come see them, and all of their friends haven't seen their set 800 times, So, but that's actually really exciting because, to you and me, if we do, I had a weekly show at Mickey's for 4 years, and then I moved it over to Hamburger Mary's and also in West Hollywood. We had a Saturday night show and we had a Monday show. So it's normal to me. It's like going to work. You just kind of forget that going to work for us is still really exciting for a lot of people.
Yes, yes.
So you kind of have to, and it's a win-win for everybody because they're excited to be there and they want to tell their brother or their girlfriend or whatever. And then you have someone who shows up like, yeah, let's do this, as opposed to someone who's like, yeah, how long am I doing? And then they leave after their set. They're still hungry and happy to do it. So that's one way to do it. Of course, you want to take advantage of social media. I probably wouldn't be on it if I wasn't a comedian, just because it is a lot to deal with. And there's a lot of opinions out there, especially now. It's very hard to be on social media because it's triggering at times. But you realize if you're an artist, you can be the best artist in the world, but if nobody knows about you, then your opportunities aren't going to grow. I definitely believe in art for art's sake. You're doing it because you love it 100%. But if you don't want to wait tables the whole time, you have to kind of figure out how to get your name out there and how to get a show, how to get a paying gig, how to, and a lot of that does come from social media. It does come from other comedians on social media. I'm sure we've all done this where you see a friend, like if I were to see you on a show, I'd be like, hey, Mel, that looks so great. Did you enjoy the show? And you say, yeah. I'm like, great. Would you mind if I reached out to the booker who books it? That's all because of social media.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so smart too that this also happens on the back end of producing, right? So when you're creating a lineup, how do we get a range of people on the show, people who are seasoned pros, who, if somebody sees that they're on the show, that might also be attractive. But then you go all the way down, and we don't want people on shows that don't know what they're doing, right? Clearly,
Right.
and I say this in every show, even though I have a company about promotion, even though I have a talk show about promotion, I am such a promotions person. I am never ever selling that promotion is the only way to go about this, right? You have to have quality, right? You have to have a fucking killer set. You have to have the best product, the best movie, album, whatever. And that doesn't mean to say that you aren't growing. It's still the best for you at that time, right? Sure. And you're moving it forward. Working on your craft for me is always like, I can't stress this enough, and not to just rely on promotion. It's not
right.
And when people do, it maybe makes a little blip, whatever, but it's not long term, right? So even when we're thinking about getting that newer person who's hungry, they still have a fucking killer set. It's still still going to be a fucking great fucking show.
Right. That's kind of the trick. That is the trick, where you want to find someone who's seasoned enough that they're going to have a good set and your audience is going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But who also is able to, who's still like really excited. You know, it's hard to find that balance.
Exactly. So, and this is why I talk to people about this, because when you have that person that is maybe newer and they've got a great set, and they're partnering you with the promotion. So you see them, they're putting the flyer in their feed, they're putting the flyer in their stories. They can get a couple butts in seats. When you see that as a producer, that is a fucking win. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you'll book that person over and over and over and over and over again. It's very challenging as a producer for comedians out there who haven't produced shows, that when you put a comedian on your show and you supply them with everything. Here's the link. Here's the, for tickets. Here's the flyer. Here's the date and time. Here's the information. And then they don't do anything. They don't do anything to share it, or at least put it in their feed, or put it in their story, or do a mention or whatever. That always feels like crap. And if anything, if you want to keep that good relationship going, it's always having the good set or the good product, but also partnering the person with the promotion. Because even at the top, that's what CBS wants you to do. That's what Netflix wants you to do.
Exactly. Every show in existence. I mean, it's a nasty word. Nobody likes the word bringer show, but everything is a bringer show. Because if, you could take an amazing, well-known comedian, you take Margaret Cho, right? If they book her in the Midwest somewhere in some big 1,000-seat theater and no one shows up, they're not going to book her again. So it's her job, as amazing as she is and as established and respected as she is, it's still her job to be like, hey guys, I'm going to be in this town at this time, post, promote, come to the show. Because then the theater will know, okay, we're going to make money off of this. We can book her again.
Yes. And it's interesting that you bring up Margaret, because I think people think that once you get to a certain level that you're just good, that you just can make that post. And I had Margaret, when I was doing the show at the Comedy Store, we had her a bunch. And then I think I wanted to book her for something else. And I can't remember what the deal was, but her management was totally like, actually, we have a bigger show coming up in a few weeks, so we don't want to like cock block the sales of that show. Yeah. So even people who have been in the business for 45, 30 years or what have you, 20 years, they're still being strategic. They know that they can't just sell out a show automatically. They have to pace themselves. They have to understand what their ability is to fill the room. And you do have to know what your ability is to fill a room. Can I get 5 people out? Can I get 100 people out? Like, how many people can I get out? So.
Right. And being honest with the producer of the show is also a plus too. Just say like, hey, sure, I can do, this is what I'm capable of. This is what I'm not capable of. There have been times when people have asked me to do a show and I'm like, I have 3 other shows that week that I've committed to. I have people coming to that. So I am happy to come and I will do the best that I can possibly do. I will go in and I will, trust me, I'll have a good set. As much as I can, no one knows what's going to happen, but I'm going to make the effort. So I don't want one of those asses like, I'm going to go in and crush. Trust
I'm going to kill.
Anyone who goes in is like, oh my God, I get standing ovations. No, you don't. Like, shut up. No, you don't. I love it. you know, a true comic, when you're like, well, how did you do? You're like, yeah, well, you know, this one did pretty well, but that one bit, like you can do 10 bits that crush, and then that one that doesn't work and you're hyper fixated on it, you think you're a failure, that means you're a comic.
Yeah, I have to record every single set. I am completely unaware during the set if it's going well. I mean, clearly on those times when you're just, I mean, you make an arm movement and the audience is falling out of their chairs, like, you know, and that just happens, you know what I mean? But most of the time I'm like, God, did that work? And then I have to literally listen to it in the car on the way home. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't suck.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I have a habit of, as soon as I get off stage, someone will try to come talk to me. Like, hold on. Because I have to write down exactly like, oh, I changed this word or I added this. And while it's fresh in my mind, I do it right then and there, as opposed to recording my set and listening to the whole thing, because that will be torture for me.
So interesting to hear that. I'm just all about, I literally have hundreds of recordings on my phone, and I can just go through and be like, oh, I moved this there, like scalpeled this, I did that, I moved that around, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I guess, I don't know, like maybe I've trained my brain to be hyper aware in the moment. If something really, really works really well, I will remember it. Because, like, I don't know, it's like, you know, when you have like a strong emotion, your brain tends to, you have better memories of it.
Yeah.
I also just started doing this, and I don't give a fuck because I'm shameless. Like, if something works well, I will pick out someone I know and I have like, hey, Bob, can you write that down for me? Because that was really fucking funny. I'll do that trust me. Like, I'll make a riff about it, but I'm serious. Like, I mean it. So I've had people come up to me and be like, oh, by the way, here's this and this. Or I'll be like, hey, text me that.
It's so funny that you said that, because I did that for you one time. You were riffing at Mickey. I'm totally remembering it now. And I was like in the corner, like
yeah. And thank God you did that, because when I got off stage, I looked at my phone. I was like, oh yeah, that's how I said it. Yeah. I mean, listen, get creative. You know, you have to figure out how your brain works. Everyone's brain, some people are very visual, some people are audio. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
I know, like, I have to see it. I like to see things in my brain. So that's why a text message with just a few words will get my mind working.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Such a great way to put that. And so you had your album, Only Happy When It's Raining Men, come out. And it came out, I mean, literally, you filmed it, you got the audio. I mean, it went to #1 on iTunes, and then literally within the next month or two, we went into, I mean, right? It was right before Christmas, or was it right after?
It actually took longer than I thought it was going to take, because we had some technical issues.
It always
everything you do, there's going to be a technical issue.
Everyone in the world.
Yeah.
It's not going to take a month. When I filmed my special, it took a year to edit, and we had issues, things. I mean, so, but what I'm saying is it went to #1. You got the whole thing done before the pandemic hit, which I'm like, thank God, thank God that you were able to support it and do it and get the word out. So let's talk about some of the tips and tricks that you use to help support your album during that process.
Yeah, as far as like the promotion of it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, the first thing, so you bust your butt to do everything you need to do. You get the recording, you have it all, you have all the footage. Okay, it takes, like you said, it takes ages to go through it. It takes forever to go, like little technical things you don't realize at the time. I mean, we had to like hire 2 different sound guys. It was a nightmare. But during that time, I took the picture. I did a shoot for the cover. You have to make sure the cover's right. And then you have to make sure that you have a good graphics artist. And that took a while. We went through a few people. Sometimes, like, they were just sending me stuff. I'm like, this is so boring. And then it was just so generic. I'm like, she literally put raindrops in the background. I'm like, our little on the nose. And then I won't say her name. She's lovely. And like, that's just not me. This is really cute. That's not me. So we had to find the angle of what represents the album. How are we going to promote with one picture an attitude? You know what I mean? Like, if I were to look at your album cover, I wouldn't expect you to being like, hi, I'm adorable, look at me. Like, you're a badass. You know what I mean? I wouldn't expect a cute little flowery thing. So that was the first step is, okay, how are we going to, even the font, what font should we use? What you have to convey your personality your point of view as a comic in one picture. It's really hard. It's really hard.
Yes, branding essentially is what we're talking about. What are those colors that represent you? What is that font? What is that? How do you look on the cover? Yeah, like I'm like standing like boom, you know what I mean? And you've got this like sexy, I mean, like whatever you decide to do with that photo, it has to convey the message of what the audience is going to get. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and I wanted to make it kind of fabulous. I wanted to strike a pose, and I wanted to wear something like cute and kind of sexy, kind of fierce. Because I obviously I needed to like have decent makeup. I don't always wear makeup, but when you're making an effort, and here's the thing, like I knew that I am going to be promoting this to the LGBTQ community. That I work in the community. I'm I'm straight. I'm not happy about it, but so I realized that, like, even though I will say this, Sarah Paulson may be changing my mind. I don't know. There's an exception for everything.
Oh, hello, Nurse Ratched.
Oh, God. So good. She's so good. Like, it's ridiculous. But so I kind of knew that, like, okay, this needs to be kind of fierce because a lot of my content is about working with drag queens, is about having gay friends, is about, going out on and crazy things that happen when you're friends with drag queens. That's the other thing that is, well, it's what I did. I hope my job comes back, but I just started working for Ross Matthews.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I was stage managing his drag shows because as a performer, I would open a lot of drag shows. I work with a lot of queens. And it's so much fun. But yeah, so you have to know your audience is the idea. So, and I think, and also you want to find something that, okay, there's tons of people with comedy albums, right? Well, what makes you stand out? What makes you special? For me, I knew that that's what it was. So once we had the picture and everything was like kind of ready to go, and it takes a while to set everything up with iTunes and all the process of it. And I was working with On Tour Records, Ross Duncliffe at On Tour Records. He's amazing. I met him actually at one of the first comedy festivals that I ever did.
Amazing.
Yeah. So you just know, people are like, well, how did you get with a label? That's the one thing. Literally, I've done so many festivals. That's the one thing that's ever come out of it. It was like the first one I did in Louisville, Kentucky, of all places. He came up to me, this, and he's a big guy. So he just walks up to me in the parking lot, and I kind of turn around like, and he's like, oh, no, it's fine. I'm one of the judges. It's totally fine. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so he approached me. And he was like, I would really love to record with you. I don't have any comments with your point of view. And I'm like, yeah, great. And I was kind of new at the time. So I'm really glad it didn't. We actually tried to record years ago and it didn't work out. I'm so glad it didn't work out because I was not ready. And when you get to that like 3, 4, 5 year mark, you think you're the shit, but you're not. You don't know anything yet. You're just, long story
Which is
short.
also good to say to people too, and this is all what I'm always trying to convey to people, is that this is a process.
Yeah.
And the process sometimes takes a little bit longer, but don't curse it. It doesn't mean that you're doing bad. It doesn't mean you're fucked up. Like those missed opportunities sometimes are there to like suspend you in time so that you can then like have the rubber hit the road when it's best for you. You know, I've had the same exact experience myself. I recorded my first special, lost it because my producers were fighting. I had to redo it.
Man,
God. I mean, it's like a fucking nightmare, but it ended up on Amazon and it got picked up by Reverie TV. So it was like all of that timing wouldn't have happened unless it happened the way that it did. So I'm always trying to tell people like the delays sometimes are okay. Just try and deem it good,
Yeah. I mean, we were delayed so much. So when we decided to film it, when we recorded, initially it was just going to be an album. It was just audio. But then I thought, well, I have a house full of people and this is a great, why would I not film this? Even if it's just for me, even if it's just for, I don't know, like promotional stuff, even if I don't do anything with this, I'm going to do it. So I have a friend who I used to make documentaries about music. This was years ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So my friend that I worked with on that, I hit him up. I was like, hey, would you be willing to come shoot this? And so he assembled like literally a 3-person crew. I mean, we were very, very small. But so we wound up doing it. And then had we not had so many technical delays and so many issues come up, the timing wouldn't have been right for me to meet a friend of mine. Her name's Kimmy Brown. She's so funny. She's Kimmy Brown. Kim McVicker is her stage name. Kim McVicker. I don't know if you know Kim.
I don't think so.
Super funny. So she just released a special with Comedy Dynamics.
And is she the blonde?
She's like kind of like reddish blonde.
Yeah, I think I've been seeing the advertisements for it.
Yeah, it's called Please Notice Me.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's fabulous. She's so funny. And she was kind enough, like when she invited me to the taping, I was like, yeah, of course I'll come support. She's like, well, you know, while you're there, I can introduce you to so-and-so who has a connection at Comedy Dynamics. And it kind of went from there. And that's how I got in touch with them. And I sent them the edit that we had. And lo and behold, they liked it and they picked it up. And it'll be coming out in probably like January, February.
Oh my God, Sam, that's so incredible.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. And they had to come in and take their wonderful tech team and fix some things that we, as just like two people, it was literally just Adam and myself kind of doing the editing. They have such, you know, greater software and it's such a bigger team. They were like, well, we can fix this. I'm like, yes, please, great. So it kind of worked out, and I'm really grateful that they liked the product enough that they were willing to work on it, you know?
That's amazing. And also too, it also speaks to, when I talk to people about this, there's no one part of this can stand alone, right? So of course, the solid comedy, right? And so how long have you been doing comedy when you recorded?
I was about 9 years in.
Amazing, right? So solid comedy, right? A following, right? Because you've been doing these shows. And I was at the recording of it and it was packed out. I think it was sold out. The two shows that you did were
two shows.
Standing room only. And it wasn't a completely small venue. I mean, it was a pretty nice size venue. It completely sold out.
I think it was like 85 people a show.
Right. So two shows, right? Yeah. And there were people standing. I mean, it was completely packed all the way to the back.
But it's because you'd rather have a smaller room. And we actually looked at the room physically as well. What are the acoustics in here? Is there a carpet? Is there a low ceiling? Everything needs to work for sound. Everything needs to visually work. It's a lot of work. It is a process. It took me a long time to find that venue. I looked at many different places. And when I finally did decide, oh my God, I love this place, I spoke to the manager and he was really great. And he's like, okay, well, let me look at dates. And I thought that we were going to be 6 months out or something. He's like, oh, no. I have something in like what was it? It was like 6 weeks or something. Like, oh my God, I panicked, you know, but that was the only date he had and I wasn't going to not take it.
Yeah.
So that kind of kicked me into high gear of like, I have got to get my shit together.
Exactly. And then, so you've got the comedy, you've got the promotion, and then you've got the like outreach around it. Then you've got like the crew. I mean, like all of these things have to be kind of firing on all cylinders. And then you have time and space for the magic. And that's the meeting the comedy dynamics person. That's the stuff that you cannot harness, right? I can give all the tips and tricks and we can talk about our experience until the cows come home. But what we're trying to do is harness magic. And sometimes that magic has to hit only when you're ready. You know what I mean? So it can't, and if it hits prematurely and you're trying to force something to meet it and it doesn't necessarily work. And that's why sometimes the delays happen and what have you. And then so comedy dynamics, that's amazing. Congratulations. That's so fucking dope. Oh my God. Well, so the album went to #1 after all of this, and I want to talk more about that over on the comedy, I'm losing my fucking mind, over on the Patreon side. So if you guys want to know more about Sam Hale, you can follow her. It's the Sam Hale, right?
The Samantha Hale.
Oh, at the Samantha Hale. And then do you have a website or is it just social media?
SamanthaHale.com.
Okay, great. And then so you can keep up with her. You can listen to her album. And then soon you can watch it on Comedy Dynamics, which is going to be fucking amazing. It is beautiful. She's hilarious. She's beautiful and hilarious. It's really, no, really, it's a fucking treat. Definitely check out her weekly shows, Homework. And if you want to know more about me, MelanieVesey.com. If you want to know more about my business, PromotionalRescue.com. But we're going to go over to my Patreon, patreon.com/Melanie Vesey. And then we're going to hear about what she did to help her album go to #1 on iTunes. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. Bye.